Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today with Culture Crush. Culture Crush is officially relaunched. It's been a little while. We want to first thank you to Deb Karen. She's the one who actually launched and hosted the show originally, but now we're back. We're back with a new host, myself, Kendra Maples, but we're still going to highlight the same stuff. We're gonna have the same conversations about great company culture and how it affects the overall success of the company. Culture, I feel like sometimes gets thrown around as a tagline and you throw it into a job description to woo people into applying, but we're going to discuss how it's much more than that. On the podcast, we're going to talk with company leaders so that they have the opportunity to tell some real life experiences, tips, and best practices. So that amazing leader that we're going to talk with today is Ken Smerz, the CEO of Zelus. As the CEO, he leads the company's strategic growth and partnerships, oversees team culture, which of course I'm excited to highlight, and the talent acquisition, and guides the national expansion efforts. So that's a little bit in a nutshell of what you do, Ken, but I want to give you the opportunity. I'm so excited to have you on today. This is relaunch. We're back at it. So why not start with one of the best? So welcome.
Kendra, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today, and hopefully I can shed some light on some topics about culture that I'm extremely passionate about.
Awesome. I love it. So tell me a little bit about Zelus as we get started. So we have a little bit more of an idea of what the company is and what you do there.
Yeah, so what we do is we use cutting edge technology, and we take mostly laser scanners. We take these laser scanners and we scan building environments, both internal and external. We then go back and create a digital twin of that building that's highly, highly accurate, that's then used by architects, engineers, contractors, so that they can understand the dimensionality of that. So we're taking the 3D world and creating a digital computer 3D model of that. And what it does is the value propositions are it helps reduce rework on a new project or an existing building. It reduces labor expense. It reduces material cost expense. It allows for offsite prefabrication of materials. So you can just click and play and have your building be built that way. Coordination, advanced clash detection. It's very new, very state of the art. And I'm very proud of our team. We started on a Papago Park. We had 9 people 4 years ago. We're at about 100 full-time employees right now. And I think we've come to grow the company because of what the whole subject matter is today, which is the right culture. You have to have the right culture, not just great technology.
Yeah. And so when I was doing some research on the company, I feel like that's not a very common company. And like you said, especially with having the focus on culture, I feel like that also is not necessarily a common strength. And maybe this is just my naiveness, but I feel like that's not a focus of construction and, companies like that very often. So how, tell me a little bit about how that became such a strength that you really wanted to focus on.
So honestly, I think it's because we've all worked at places we didn't like, right? And we learned what we wanted to fix, what we wanted to correct. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, people want to work with people who are like-minded, who care about each other. I often use the word love. It's not in the traditional sense of the word, but we love each other. We love our clients. We love what we do. We're passionate about it. And I think that's really helped kind of springboard us ahead of the rest. As I mentioned, we're only 100 employees right now. We should double that within the next year and a half. And we're the largest supplier, professional service provider of anybody that does what we do in the entire North American continent. So something's working, and it's because, again, that collective collaborative, again, I'm using the word love.
Mm-hmm. And I actually really love that you said that because and I just pulled out some notes in the introduction and kind of the about the show section that I had to submit to Karen to kind of relaunch all of this. One of the things that I put in there is actually a quote from a book by Marcus Buckingham and Ashley Goodall. So their book, 9 Lies About Work. And one of the chapters is all about, culture. And it's funny because in that book, they say culture is the tenets of how we behave. It's like a family creed. This is how we operate and treat each other in a family. And that's what you're doing.
Yes, you have to have an ethos, right? The Navy SEALs have an ethos. They're a very elite unit of operators. I believe that that same sort of mentality can be taken and injected into a business environment if everybody understands that, we're in this together. We have a common objective. I think it works out really well, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It's helped us scale incredibly quick, and it's been one of our secret recipes. There are people we compete against who don't focus on each other or their client, and instead they're focused on the technology, which is easy to get lost, right? It's fun to have we have this new laser scanner, or we can do this, and this, and 3D models. But at the end of the day, if you're not working in collaboration with each other, with your clients, you haven't really created anything.
Mm-hmm. And have you noticed any bumps along the way as far as, if we're comparing it to a family? I'll be honest,
Yeah.
with the people in my family, I hope they're not listening right now, as I admit
Right.
it, that I don't really like. So every family
Same.
has, those ones, and you kind of are stuck with them, right? But in a company, when you're really trying to foster that family culture, then how do
Mhm.
you tackle that?
So one of the things that we like to do is we let you fail once. And we're really good about giving you the rope to hang yourself, supposedly. And if somebody is passionate about an idea or a way to execute something, we're going to explore that. We're going to give you the freedom to do it, but only do it once. If you fail, and let's get back on the collective track. I think that goes a long way, because then people realize that they're safe. You want to work, part of a positive culture is a safe working environment. That helps facilitate that.
That's fantastic, though. Is there anyone that has tried to push the limits and fail again? And then what happens?
You're talking to one of them. I'm one of the biggest fans. Look, there's a lot of things that we do that we've missed, right? We've had to take moments in time where you pivot or you persevere. You persevere and stay with your idea because you believe it's legitimate, or you have to pivot off it. And we've chased just a marketing wise, we've had some really, what I thought, frankly, were good ideas that turned out to be completely like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? But we learned from those, right?
Yeah. And you have to. And the fact that you admitted that, to me, that's huge, because like you said in the beginning, we've all worked for maybe companies that we didn't align with. And a lot of times it's not the company. Sometimes it's just a leader in that company that doesn't align and doesn't embrace the culture. And so for you to even admit that, that's huge. I mean, I can see how I can already tell how the culture has grown within your organization, because you, as one of the main leaders, you can admit fault, right?
Yes, we have them, right? We all
Yeah.
have them. So the more we can do that and be care-frontational, I mean, that's a word we use around here a little bit, and
Confrontational.
care-frontational, yeah. And it works for us.
I love that. I'm writing it down. Confrontational.
We also have, Kendra, we have a really diverse workforce here, really diverse. I think we have 12 different nationalities, countries represented. We have a variety of background from, people who are really good at 3D modeling, people who are architects, engineers, and we're all kind of this big collection of people all wanting to do the same thing. But we take from the experience that somebody may have had in Iran or Mexico City, and we employ those people, and we're contributing ideas and ways of doing things differently.
Mhm.
It makes it fun.
Is there intention behind that? Or because I know there's definitely a push with inclusion and diversity nowadays, and there has to be a balance of, yes, you want to have that diversity, but at the same time you want to have the person that's the right fit, no matter what their background is, but just in general the right fit. So is there intention to that, or has it kind of happened too?
It's a modest intention. It is people who are passionate about technology. People are passionate about the future and designing and engineering hospitals and hotels and semiconductor plants in three-dimensional form.
Mhm.
So because of that, that attracts we all have that in common, right? I'm a recovering contractor. I do what I do because I understand the value of measurement, right? But the people we have that are international, they may have a different background, but we all have this passion to help bring efficiency into the design build process. And that sort of is the common thread. And it's borderless, right? So a good amount of our workforce doesn't even work here in Arizona. They're, in New York or Dallas or Denver or wherever else too. So it's kind of it's by design, but I don't know if I think it's
Yeah.
because we're open-minded. Yeah.
And that's huge. And I'm hoping that that's one of the positive things that actually comes from this pandemic is a lot of companies that are now forced to have their employees at home and remote. Now they're realizing, well, they don't have to be within a 50-mile radius. So what if my employee is, 3 states away? It opens up the pool and it opens up the opportunity of bringing more of these people into that family that you guys are creating.
Ginger,
I'm
we had I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, so the remote work thing, I get asked that question a lot. And how has the pandemic affected your business? And frankly, for us, it's made us a lot better leaders and managers because we had to even become better at what we do execution wise. Interestingly enough, a lot of what we do is data processing. When we take this raw data that's from the laser scans, there's a function of let's design the model. We sent those people home when the pandemic hit, and the productivity went up 14%. Absenteeism went down 93%. Those are real numbers. We track what is done remotely by people in their computers. It was a fascinating kind of a development, which to your point allows us then to hire people who live in Toronto and can work remote in, coming into our Phoenix office here virtually.
Absolutely. Have you, through all of this, I mean, you've had this rapid growth, you've maintained that company culture. Have you brought more folks on during the pandemic and, onboarded and done all of that while it's been completely virtual too? How is that? How do you translate that culture when you're really not even seeing these people in person at all right now?
Communication. We have, for a while, I would send out a daily email right when this first thing kind of teed up. And I was very upfront and honest with our people. Hey, this is what we have. We're going to have to furlough these people. We're going to have to lay these people off. We kind of V'd out of that and we shot back up, and we are actually adding positions now. We can't hire fast enough. And that's partially because the pandemic made everybody go remote. You wanted to digitize your building construction process. Well, that's what we do. So interestingly enough, while we laid off almost half the workforce in April, they're all back, and we're advancing it even further than we thought we would. So this pandemic will actually be an accelerant to our business growth in a really bizarre way. And then again, circling back, I can then hire people who live anywhere in the country to also be part of the team.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, it's about being transparent. As the leader, I want my managers to be transparent, and I want there to be a ton of communication, whether it's a Zoom meeting or Teams or we have an intranet. There's just a lot of different ways you can do that.
Well, and I feel like sometimes companies and leaders in particular, they're hesitant to share information. But there's value in that. And I was reading another article the other day, I can't remember who, but they were saying, let your employee decide if it's too much information or not. At least they have that opportunity to know what's going on with the company internally, externally, financially, whatever, and then let them decide, I don't need to know that today. But I think the communication leads to, like you said, that leads to the culture of your company as they feel like they are part of it. They know what's going on. And that's huge.
People want to help people. I genuinely believe that inside. I don't, whether you have different backgrounds or whatever, people, if you're humble, want to help other people. And so we foster that throughout the organization. How can I help? How can I better serve you? Not just the customer, but internally, how do I serve that division? It helps.
And is that something that you make very transparent in the beginning when you do hire new people? You let them know, like, hey, this is how we are. We're a family. Ask questions.
Yeah. We ask a lot of questions about your personality, in the beginning to see if it is a good fit. And being candid, if it's not a good fit, we're going to probably find that out pretty quickly too. So we're not afraid to turn over people if they're not a good fit really quickly, then have the pain of having this underperformer be a part of something that is not a good fit for them. But we are very braggadocious about, hey, this is a fun place to work. We're passionate about it. Let's go do this. We keep remessaging that though too. And what we really are trying to help people understand that we're as part of the team, we don't want people to come in here and have a job. We want you to come in here and have a career. We want to develop you. We will train you. You have the ability to go and grow in this new tech business, and you can help create your own path. And some people love that, and others are terrified of it. And so we fit the shoe to whichever direction you want to go. Path that up.
Yeah. You said that you find out early on kind of if they're a right fit. Is there anything that's unique in maybe your onboarding process that helps you kind of find if they're the right fit? Because like you said, you're going to find it out fairly soon. And sometimes it's not that they can't do the job. It might just be that they're that wrong person, for the job. Like for me, I'm a very happy, positive
Right.
person. If you made me be the one that had to fire people all the time, I would probably not do I
Right.
don't want to. So sometimes it's just, the fit. So as far as your onboarding, is there anything that you think that's unique?
When you're onboarded with us, you're assigned a mentor. And
Okay.
he or she will then help you through the process and guide and help you integrate within the company, within whatever your mission is. And we've got, I think there's right now 4 people that are doing that for us, maybe 5, that do just a really wonderful job of sort of being a personal coach, right? A liaison, and open up doors and make sure that training is coming along. And then we're pretty hardcore about doing continuous evaluations too, 60 and 90-day evaluations, and even after that. But those evaluations are two-way. We expect you as the employee, as part of the team, to also communicate your level of acceptance. Are you having fun? Are you getting what you signed up for? I always like to kind of position it this way. An employee candidate is making a buying decision the same way that I am with he or she. So let's both make sure there's as good a fit as we can. Let's get psychologically naked with people, and let's understand what you really want and what I want. And then if there's a fit, let's go forward, right?
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to what you were saying about a family. It has to be reciprocal. You can't just hold a grudge and get mad that, your spouse didn't put the laundry away for 3 weeks. You got to say something about it and be open. And then maybe there's a reason. But, you have to have that open, that communication so that, like you said, it's both ways. I mean, in that interview, that individual is, learning about you as the company. They're interviewing you as the company to make sure that really is a perfect fit.
Yes.
That's
Everybody's making a buying decision on a continual basis, and we want you on Sunday night to be excited because it's Sunday night because you get to go to work tomorrow. We want that. I mean, not a lot of people can say that, but I am fired up every Monday morning coming in here. I love it. It's great. I love the people I get to work with.
That's fantastic. And you said you're back in the office right now, right? We see the view behind you. Had you personally been remote at home for a little bit? And you were probably antsy. I want to get back there. I want to.
Yeah, because I'm not a good sit-at-home guy. My ADD kicks in. I'm finding myself doing laundry and other things that don't matter. What we found from a functional perspective is a lot of the engineers, a lot of very technical people that we have high expertise, they're still better off at home than they are at home. What we found, interestingly enough, is the social creatures and our sales and marketing people, they didn't do so good at home. So we brought them back first. We maintained social distancing, and everybody's, we're all adhering to that. But the sales team itself is physically here for the most part. We have one guy that's remote, but the informal communication that takes place at that level when you're talking about taking care of your clients, it's more gooey, it's more effective, it's more efficient. If we're able to just have, hey, I walk by your office and call him, or she needed to be called or whatever, than being remote.
Yep. And that's totally me. I have to talk to the dogs a lot now, and they don't really talk back as much.
Right.
But and there's something to say with having that fluid, hey, just popping in real fast, ask a question. Yes. It doesn't have to be an email or a message that you have to wait on, just that quick communication with the team. But I can see, especially when it is a company that is, that has been ingrained from the very beginning with a good culture, I'd be in your same shoes. I'd want to be back. See everyone.
Right. We're social creatures, especially, again, the sales and the marketing team. And if they can have those water cooler conversations, it's just powerful. It's just very, very powerful. And again, my production team, they don't care as much about the water cooler conversations. Some of those guys, we find them working 4 hours in the morning, and there's this vacant slot where they didn't work at all, but they're working from 6 at night till midnight, so they can also flip around their work schedule. Not my sales guy. That's a different thing. So
But that's pretty cool. So is that something that's changed now with it being remote, that kind of you're giving the opportunity to kind of shift hours
yep.
and things like that?
Yep. We don't care as long as you're getting the hours and as long as you're producing and helping design or helping facilitate whatever building process, we're fine. Work whenever you want. But we have schedules we have to meet. Yeah.
And that's
It works.
honestly, I think that's huge, especially right now. We have so many kids that are still doing remote school, and you've got parents at home that are checking in on the kid that's doing school while they're also working. And so that balance right now is just a little crazy. So the fact that you guys recognize that and allow your employees to be flexible, again, it gives another reason why they want to be there. Right? Why they get excited, like you said, that it's Sunday, I have work tomorrow. They're excited. And actually, another part in that book, The 9 Lies, one of the things that they talk about is when you ask somebody about their job, you ask, oh, what's it like at your job? They're never going to say things like, they're never going to talk about the solar panels or the snacks that are in in the cafeteria. They're going to talk about those little pieces that build to the culture, right? So exactly that. Hey, my boss is so awesome. He lets me be flexible. I work at midnight when everyone else is asleep.
Yes.
Those are the things that they're going to talk about.
And Kendra, to your point, there's those things are bites, and that's what helps us grow. So our favorite new hire is somebody that's a referral from somebody already on the team.
Yeah.
We go way out of our way to create little nuggets, if you will, or stories, or events. Everybody's, team lunches and whatever. Our team lunches, we highlight employees. That's not normal. And we do a bio on you and your family, and if you have dogs or birds or kids or whatever. So we really try to bring that out. Now we're doing that virtually in Zoom meetings, but it still is really fun to go into 2 or 3 different people in the organization at whatever level and highlight them personally. And then again, that creates that stickiness. Well, they're going to go out and tell the people in their church or their little league or the grocery, hey, this company, we're hiring, come check us out. And that's exciting.
Yeah. Is that how you get most, or would you say a large percentage of kind of the new?
A giant percentage, yes. A giant percentage of our people come from referral. Absolutely, yes.
It makes sense, though. One of the things that I was going to ask you about was, maintaining that company culture through the rapid growth. I mean, you guys went from being at a table at Papago Park, right? 9 employees to over 70, but exactly what you're saying, that's why. I mean, you have that 9 core people in the very beginning that were like, this is awesome. The culture's there. It's my family. These are my people. Obviously, they're going to tell other people. And so it makes sense how you've had that rapid growth with
it's helped us tremendously. Like I said, we would not be able to achieve what we've achieved financially had we not had people all rowing the boat and agreeing to row the boat in the same direction. And again, like I said earlier, I've made some mistakes, and a lot of people that work with me have made mistakes, but we're learning from those, and it's onward and upward. And then part of my job too, as the head coach, is I need to kind of paint the vision. Where are we going, right? And that also then helps facilitate the culture. Oh, okay. Head coach said this. This is where we're going. This is the plan. We have a plan. I have career opportunities I can go and develop. I'm kind of piecing this all in together, but that fits back into the communication discussion we just had too.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there any other little, like you called them little bites before, are there any other little bites that you, as kind of that lead coach, you're kind of like the dad of this family, right? Are there any?
I don't want to be. My job is to become obsolete. Look, I think any good leader, if they do a good job of building a good, strong team, their mission should be to become obsolete. They need to get out of the way and let others take the center stage. So I want to sneak off into the background someday. I don't know when that's going to happen, but that's the objective. And when people see that and when they believe that, they get excited because now they're working for something. They're not just doing a job.
Absolutely. And but you said it though, you're training so that you can step out of that position. Jocko Willing, he's a Navy SEAL and he's got all kinds of leadership books and podcasts. I mean, I love it. And that's one of the
fan of his too. Yes.
Oh my gosh, he's fantastic. But that's one of the main things he says all the time. is you are training your replacement.
Yes.
So if you are, again, the communication thing, right? If you're the keeper
Mhm.
of the info and the keeper of the facts, and you're not telling your employees and you're not sharing with them, and you are so vital in every piece of, progress happening, then you're doing the wrong thing.
Too many people. So I read the book, The E-Myth, many, many years ago, and too many people work in their business instead of on their business. And it's a big problem. You need to work on your business. And part of that working on is not just understanding the scorecard, the financials, but it's also what we're talking about here today is making sure you're maintaining a good, productive, constructive culture.
Mhm.
And otherwise, I would argue you're really going to struggle.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. So as you say, that you're preparing so that you can kind of be
hmm
obsolete. Um, are there moments in your day where you continue to think about that and you think, okay, how can I maybe remove myself from this? How can I put somebody else in this position? Like, how do you plan to have your role become obsolete as dad?
and it's hard for me, Kendra. I have to learn to shut up. I have to learn and just say, okay, they're not going to do it the way that I think it should be done. I think my way's better, but I'm still going to go let them do it their way and see what happens. And that is super hard for me, but
Yeah.
I'm aware of it, right? So I'm sure I violate my own rule there because I make mistakes. But overall, if you kind of have that in the back of your head, let them go. Let's see. I have a saying around here: let the horses run, and let the horses run. Let's go see what happens. And sometimes that can become contentious. We talked about how communication in a family. Sometimes you're not going to agree. Sometimes you got to let the horses run and let people go and see what happens.
Mhm. And it's the same thing that we do with kids and family members,
Yes.
right? You
Yes.
you have to let them do it at some point. You
hmm
have to let them fail. You have to let them crash on a bike or,
Yep.
they've got to do these things on their own. And so for you to have that be ingrained in how you're growing the company, it makes sense how you guys have done so well over that short span still.
No, again, we have fun. We have a lot of fun around here. We do interesting things with each other. We do events. There's a lot of attention given in our organization towards human resources and hiring and retention, branding, the entire thing. It's not just about our clients, it's about our employees.
Mhm. And that's huge though. One of the things when I was doing research about you guys a little more, you are very clear to put the mission, your values, and everything
hmm
right on your website, which
hmm
I love. I mean, obviously, I have a passion for good culture and leadership. And the difference though is you have it there, right?
hmm
But you're living by that. So if we asked you what the main tenants are, can you tell us kind of what those main tenants are that you highlight as a company?
So we boiled it down to four different words, and they all have much greater meaning individually. And we went off site and did a big retreat on this, and this is what those four words came out to be. The first one is gratitude. Um, the second one is freedom. The third one is passion, and then the word truth. And those are all the four words that we feel, um, and again, sort of a deeper dive, illustrate who we are and who we want to remain and where we're going, but just in those boiled down words. And it sounds really maybe simplistic or kind of corny almost. That took us 3 days to get to those four words. That was not an easy maneuver. And we had a lot of argument about what those four words should be for us. Um, and then again, as the head coach, I had to kind of sit back and say, okay, I don't like that word, but okay, let's go. I had to trust in the team, and that's what's made us, I think, unique.
So why do you think, like, give me a little bit of an insight as to how those four really kind of encompass the company?
We started with where do we want to be, right? Wayne Gretzky said it: skate to where the puck's going to be.
Mhm.
Duh. We started with what is our vision as a business and as a company? Where do we want to go? And
Mhm.
we unequivocally said since day one, we want to be the single best at what we do with these professional services that we provide of anybody in North America. We want to be the biggest and the best. We want to create a brand. The company name is Zelus. It doesn't mean anything. We did that on purpose. It's a really easy word to remember, and we want to create our own brand the same way Uber is rideshare and Google is search. In this space of digital construction and efficiencies, we want Zelus to be harmonious with that, reflective of that. So those 4 words were created after, here's where we are, here's where we want to be, and let's work on it. And we wrote down thousands of words on this wall. It was a really interesting exercise. And that's what we came up with at the end of the day. We voted and voted and voted and voted, and there we go.
Was it everybody writing words on the wall?
Almost everybody that we could afford to get into that room, yes. The leadership for sure, the supervisors for sure. And we have a relatively flat org chart on purpose. We want to empower people, but yeah, there was a lot of input on that.
That's fantastic. And I had asked, one of the questions that I want to be able to ask all of the guests that are on the show is, if you had to describe the culture of your company in one word, what would it be? And so the one word you gave me was one of those 4. It was truth. So why does that word in particular stand out to you?
It's our ethos. It's what we do. It's who we are to each other. It's who we want to be with our clients, and hopefully we are to our clients. I think they would tell you that. I think everybody in their life wants truth. It's definitely in the products that we deliver. It's truth. We give you a highly accurate digital model. With how we communicate amongst each other, it's truthful. We want to have that honesty. We want to have that integrity. And it's been, to me, that's the single word that I would say, again, like we talked about, if there was one word to describe our company, for me personally, it's truth. And I think many, many people share that here too.
That's fantastic though. With that kind of being the main word, is that something, because you also mention a lot about clients, right? Obviously you're focusing on your employees themselves, but in all of this, you've thrown out the word clients too. Do those 4 tenants and that word truth in particular, is that something that you really try and convey to the clients that you have as well, so that they're feeling that company culture?
Absolutely. So it's a big part of who we are. Is we want to have a long-term lasting relationship with all of our customers, with all of our clients. To that end, the more that they can know us and the more transparent we are with them, then the stickiness is there, whether they're with client X or client Z or Y, wherever they go in their career. So we are really super focused on, let's get to know each other. Let's do, this project together. What are our goals? What are our metrics? And then have that ongoing relationship for years to come is the objective.
That's fantastic, because
my marketing plan literally includes the word, there's a piece in our marketing plan that is literally, how do we go about and not sell, I guess that's what we're doing, but position our culture to our clients. How do we get them to know us? And that's actually a piece in my marketing plan.
That's huge. So are there any other insights that you can give us as to how you're doing that, how you're trying to really bring the clients in to feel that culture?
Yeah, so we ask them about them. That's how we start the process. And we ask about, imagine if your waiter came over to you at the restaurant and he said, I want to provide everything I can to have this be a wonderful dining experience for you tonight, right? And what is important to you? What is important to you, Kendra? What do you expect of me? So we start that relationship of you getting to know us by, we want to know about you first. And until that happens, nothing else works, right? So I pound our salespeople. Sounded wrong here. I'm talking about culture and I'm talking about pounding people. I make it really, really important that we find out about you. What are the expectations of this relationship? What is going to make it work for you? Here's about us. And then along the way, we then slowly start to feed you about our culture, who we are. We'll invite you to events. We'll feature client projects that we've done. We just did a full digital model of the Superdome in New Orleans. And we made sure that 2.8 million square feet and highly accurate, there was 348,000 model objects in that stadium. We brought the client along back with us and highlighted them internally, right? We got our project manager with their project manager, and we made it a collective win. And in doing that, that then sort of pushes out that culture piece so that they understand, who we are.
Mm-hmm. And that leads into more than just a company with a good culture. You can probably see behind me, the step and repeat that's behind me in the studio right now.
Mm-hmm.
One of the logos that's on there is conscious capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
And so having, a conscious business, that's part of it, is exactly what you're doing. Not only are you creating that strong culture internally, but externally, you're identifying that your clients are a huge stakeholder in that process, right? It's the clients because they're funding this, but it's the employees because they're the ones doing all the pieces. And so that is, again, it's why you guys are successful and
Mm-hmm.
growing this so well and so rapidly, because you are doing it in a very conscious way, because you're highlighting all of those different stakeholders, which is fantastic.
Dale Carnegie said a long time ago, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And it sounds goofy, and my mom taught me that years and years ago, but it still holds true today. And
Mhm.
it's a great tenet that we should all remember.
Well, and even like you were saying, the analogy of going to a restaurant, having that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
people want to feel like you care. They
Yes.
want you to not just ask, "Hey Kendra, how are you doing? Hey Ken, how are you doing?" No, they really want to feel like you sincerely care about them. Tell me about your day. It's the same thing we do with the kiddo at the end of the day. I don't want to just
Mm-hmm.
say, "Hey, how was your day?" Good, and a story,
Right.
right? I want to know more. And
Yes.
that's what makes not just a great company with a great culture, but that's what makes you, Ken, a great leader and a great coach of what's going on, is because you are investing that time. Your staff feels like, oh my gosh, she cares about me. I just got highlighted at a luncheon.
You're kind. Yes, your words are kind. Here's another thing that I really think is really important to keep in this discussion about culture and about success. You have to be a continuous learner. And if you're not a continuous learner, you're hurting yourself and you're hurting others. So
Mhm.
one of my pushes on my one-to-ones that I do every other week with my direct reports is I sit down and I say, how are you getting better? What are we doing to help you? What are you learning about? Is it finance? Is it time management? Is it, marketing? Is it new technology? Is it innovation? What is it? But then we push to have that same kind of ladder effect throughout the organization. So that my direct reports, they ask the same question of their direct reports, and it kind of goes down and permeates the organization so that we are continuously learning. I think it's super important.
Are there ways within the organization that you guys are supporting your staff in those ways? So say, I'm one of your staff and I come to you and I say in the one-on-one, something that I'm really trying to improve on or do better. Are there opportunities for classes or, webinars or things like that they can do as well?
Well, absolutely, yes. And so it can be under two different categories. It can be under the guise of how are we going to help you professionally,
Mhm.
and what it is that we want to train you in this skill. Many times, though, it's also about what are we going to do to help you personally. Do
Mhm.
you have a right work-life balance? Do you have, how is your time management? We had a lot of interest, interestingly enough, in just financial planning with people. People come into this world, and many people never have the chance to sit down with somebody and say, here's what this financial planning could be. Where do you want to be in 20 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? And
Mhm.
just having those conversations. There's not a lot of companies that do that. Some might, offer 401ks. I get that. But to actually, what's your life plan? What do you want to be remembered for? Where do you want to go?
Mhm.
I think
I think
it's just another way to grow.
I think it's something that's one of those things I think is assumed, right? That your employees know what they want to do, know where they're going. And the reality is none of us do.
No, right? I was 38 years old before I figured out what I was good at. It took me that long. I had a
Yeah.
lot of, hard work, and I'd chopped a lot of wood for other people.
Yeah.
But I was 38 and it hit me one day. Gosh, I can be a decent leader and an entrepreneur.
Mm.
Holy smokes, this is working for me. And once that kind of clicked, it was helpful. But some people, we go our whole lives, we don't know, where we're going. We're just going. Let's try to figure out a little bit more than that, get a little bit deeper.
Yeah. So when that did click for you and you were like, okay, this is what I can do, this is what I want to do, what were some of the steps that you took to actually make all of this happen?
I sought out other people who had achieved more than I had. And I asked them questions. I asked them difficult questions. I asked them fun questions. What were their regrets? What were their mistakes? What did they do? How could I emulate it? And being candid, a lot of people did not have good answers.
Yeah.
Here I am to seek knowledge, and you really don't have any. You got lucky because, your uncle bankrolled your business or whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of that there too. But I would advise anybody or suggest, let me say, anybody out there to identify who your mentors are in your life and who you can communicate with and have candid conversations, whether it's about business and what you want to achieve from a work standpoint, or if it's something you just personally want to do yourself,
hmm
and just push yourself a little bit. And I think that little push, you can learn a whole lot if you're truly open for it.
hmm And I like that you said identify your mentors. It doesn't have to be just one. I heard the phrase before of mentor board. So your own personal mentor board. You've got different people that can help and give input and expertise and knowledge. And like you said, their fails, they can support you with that. But there's something to say for it not being family, right? That's one of those moments where it doesn't have to
Hmm.
be your spouse, your brother, your mom. They obviously want the best for you. So there's going to be that piece that is different when you're talking with somebody that's, not related and they have that candid expertise to give you. I think that's huge. And I think everybody should. I mean, I think that's a great advice that you've given is that everyone should find those mentors, figure out the good, the bad, the ugly.
We all need lighthouses, right? We need somebody that can shine a light on us and what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, and hopefully keep us from hitting the shoreline, right?
Yeah.
I'm a big believer of that. To what you said, I think is also very important. It shouldn't be somebody in your family.
Mhm.
It should be somebody outside that, that maybe doesn't know you personally that well, but is not afraid to give you good, solid candor,
Mhm.
feedback.
Mhm. So when you were reaching out and getting these mentors and kind of learning from them, is there anything that maybe stands out that you remember from any of those conversations of maybe what to do or what not to do as far as now, scaling Zealous?
um, One of the great experiences I had in that along those lines is I wrote down on paper my 3-year goals for the company. And I gave those to this individual. He's a business owner up in Las Vegas. And just having to commit those words to paper, and then here's a guy who I respect, very, very, very successful individual. It changes, and you don't want to disappoint that friend. My friend up in Vegas that I wrote the goals down to, but having to memorialize those, it was significant. And then he calls me up now and then, and we talk about it. Where are we on that path? And it's okay to not have achieved all the goals either. If you've achieved all your goals aren't big enough. So
And then you need to readjust and
adjust.
alter them. Um,
Yes.
with the goals, you said those were 3-year goals that you put.
Yes.
Have you reached those or did they change? Did they alter?
We're doing pretty good. We're probably at about 85%, 80%, 85%. We actually, but that's not because of me. That's because I work with some great individuals here that have helped us collectively achieve those goals. So the other thing I have to do is not just communicate, to my more executive level people, but I have to share that message throughout the entire organization.
Mhm.
And again, that helps also then create the culture, right? Your shared expectations. We know this is where we're going, right? We know that this is the direction of the company.
Mhm.
As a kind of a side sound bite, I said earlier that I had sent out weekly emails, or daily actually, when we first got into the pandemic. I also made sure I kept the messaging short
Mhm.
and not verbose, because a lot of our people are reading it on their cell phone, and they're not going to read 15 paragraphs from the old man here. They want to see 4 really well written sentences
Mhm.
to convey an idea.
Mhm. But I mean, you're conveying it to everybody. Do you still do daily messages or are they weekly
Weekly.
messages?
Yeah, weekly. Yeah. And it's everything from here's a great book that I recommend, or here is, an economic condition in New York at our New York office up there, or here is a fun fact or a famous quote. I keep it really all over the place so nobody really knows, is it going to be about the company? Is it about personal development? Is it about, whatever? And then the other thing, and I talked about earlier about the, truth, don't lie. If it's not going good, don't lie. And I sent out some emails to our team in June and July, and they weren't fun to read, but they were truthful, right? And so that's, you got to do that. You can never give up on your mission. So I would always end those emails with, here's where we're going. There's why I have reason to believe things are going to be great.
Yeah.
But boy, if you're not honest once, you just became unforgettable, and nobody wants to do that.
And you'll get called out on it too.
Yes.
That's the other thing, that if you're going to talk about communication and being open and honest, if you lie and you sugarcoat it and you say, oh, everything's great, and then comes that moment where, like you said, you had to furlough some people, and then they're caught off guard, people remember that, and they're gonna call you on your BS later too.
Permanently. Yes, absolutely correct. Absolutely.
That's huge though. So you said in your messages, sometimes it's a favorite quote, a favorite book. What's one of your, I'm just curious, what's one of your favorite books that you have read that's maybe it could be culture related? It doesn't have to, but something that's kind of contributed and made an impact for you.
Gosh, so I'm a voracious reader too. I like to read a lot of books. One of the book I mentioned earlier, The E-Myth, is a great book that any entrepreneur should take that and read that, because again, in that book, it talks about working on your business, not in it. And I have so many friends that I've seen that are working really, really hard or long hours, and they're working in it instead of on it. And that's just a whole different paradigm. You can achieve more if you're, trying to coach it and lead it and sharing your goals than if you're into the weeds.
Okay. You and Karen both, Karen's in the studio, our producer, and you guys both nodded your head when you mentioned that book. I'm like, okay, well, it's in my audience. I could probably finish it.
It's a good one. It's simple. It's a short read, but it is very, very, very powerful.
That's perfect though. I love that. One of the things I want to try and do each time with the shows is integrating more information and more resources, especially with this topic. I got into this not because I am some professional with a background on culture, but I was fascinated because, like you, I've worked for those companies, and some of the companies are great, but there's pieces that, I've always strived for more, and wanting stronger leadership and wanting a little more culture and, that family feel, like you said. And that's kind of what led into this. So as we continue doing, other shows and continuing this relaunch, that's one of the things that I want to be able to share, is these little tidbits with everybody on, here's some other resources as well. So I'm going to add that to my resource list.
There you go.
So that's awesome. So Ken, we are, the timing goes by so fast on these things. I swear. It's so funny because a lot of times when we talk to people about the show and we let them know how it's going to go, they're like, 60 minutes. We don't take a break. It's like, no.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, boom, it's almost to that point. So I just want to kind of give you the opportunity. I want you to be able to share, enlighten, whatever it is that you want to kind of end with about your company, about the culture, especially because you are in such a unique role as a company that highlighting culture, I feel, we mentioned this at the beginning, I feel like it's not a priority for other companies similar to yours. So I just want to give you that moment. Anything else that you want to highlight, or shout outs for your company, whatever it is, I want to give you that chance.
Look, I love my team. I love every single person on this team. And I am so proud of what we have achieved, because we have truly we're the best at what we do anywhere in all of North America and all the world. And that would not be possible if it weren't for the collective effort. And I do mean collective, from the scan technician who's in some job site, in some horrible place, to the person who's processing the data, to our human resources manager, to my innovation officer. Just there is such a great, fun, collective thing that we've achieved, but we're not where we need to be yet. We have so much more ahead of us, and I'm excited about our future, and I want to keep the culture, because I do think that is a significant reason we are where we are and why we're going to be the biggest in the world.
I agree. You guys are building a family,
Yes.
and you're bringing in those new family members as the current family members refer other people. And that has been ingrained since the beginning, since you started this at the picnic table in Papago Park.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I think you've done a phenomenal job starting from the very beginning. Sometimes I feel like that's the hard part. Is figuring out how to start that. If they're,
You got to give up control. You have to
yeah,
trust the people around you. And then, like I said, be care-frontational. I used the word love early on in this podcast. I mean that. And I don't mean, again, the romantic sense, but you have to love your job. You have to love the people you're with, or, you're not going to be amazing. You're not going to create great things. And so we do that around here. And I want to continue to have that be one of our objectives.
I love that. So I would say that that's definitely, some of the takeaways today from you. If there's an entrepreneur that's out there that's listening, they want to start a company, they want to start it and make sure that they're growing this company with a strong culture, that they need to remember it's not just putting some words on a website.
Hmm.
It's not just throwing it into a job description. It's truly the care-frontational, the
Hmm.
communication, and the love
Yep.
that transcends from all levels. I mean, that's
Yes.
what it sounds like with you guys. It's not just you, but it's everybody else in the company.
Everybody plays a part, every single person.
I love that. Well, Ken, before we wrap up, if anybody maybe wanted to reach out to you, I
Hmm.
know you're a very busy man,
Hmm.
but is there a best way for folks to find you, maybe on LinkedIn? How could they do that?
Yeah, LinkedIn or teamzelus.com is our website, Zelus, teamzelus.com. Or shoot me an email. I'm happy to do whatever I can to help others. People did that in my life, and I'm grateful. And if there's somebody out there that I can give, 5 minutes of advice to, and I'm happy to do whatever I can to help.
I love that. Well, thank you so much
Yes,
for
thank
coming
you.
on today, being part of this big relaunch. We've been planning and getting everything ready for a little while now, and so now we're back in action. So I truly appreciate you taking the time. So thank you.
Kendra, thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely. So, for everybody else out there, thank you for joining us for Culture Crash, the podcast that does a deep dive with company leaders to learn about real life experiences, tips, and the best practices for creating a healthy work environment where employees are truly finding joy and satisfaction in their work while also striving and growing. And, like Ken said, they're excited to go to work on Monday. And when it's
Mhm.
Sunday and they're getting ready for bed, they think, oh, yes, I have work in the morning. Thanks for joining us.